In March 2018, a car was discovered at the base of a cliff in Mendocino County, California. The scene appeared to be a tragic accident. Wreckage scattered along the rocks and bodies nearby suggested a devastating crash. But as investigators dug deeper, they uncovered unsettling details. This wasn't just a misfortune on the road. A far more disturbing truth lay beneath the surface. What could have driven this family to such a grim end? And how had the warning signs gone unnoticed until it was too late? Jennifer Jean Hart, often called Jen, was born on June 4th, 1979 in South Dakota. Her father, Douglas, worked for the Federal Energy Administration while her mother has remained out of the public eye. As the eldest of three siblings, Jen grew up in the small town of Huron, South Dakota, a place surrounded by natural beauty that offered countless opportunities for outdoor activities. Athletic from a young age, Jen defied expectations, choosing to play baseball with boys rather than join the girls' softball team. Jen's interests extended beyond sports. She developed a deep love for animals and explored music alongside her siblings, playing the trumpet at Christmas church services. But the peaceful image of family life began to crack when Jen's parents divorced. She was just 12 at the time. After the separation, she and her siblings stayed with their mother while her father relocated elsewhere in town. Despite the distance, Jen remained close to her father and eventually at age 14 decided to move in with him. However, the arrangement didn't last. As Jen's behavior became more challenging, her father sent her back to her mother's care. Though she went through a rebellious phase, Jen managed to graduate from high school in 1997, surprising everyone by enrolling at Augustana University, a conservative Lutheran college. Even more unexpectedly, she chose to be baptized into the Lutheran faith, though religion had never been a significant part of her upbringing. After 2 years, Jen transferred to Northern State University, where her life would take another major turn. It was there that she met Sarah Margaret, born on April 8, 1979 in North Dakota. The two women, both studying to become teachers, quickly became inseparable. Sarah focused on special education, and before long, the pair moved in together on campus. While it seemed that Jen had outgrown her earlier troubles, in January 2000, she was caught shoplifting. When questioned by police, she admitted she wasn't sure why she had done it, hinting at unresolved emotional struggles. Jen pleaded guilty to petty theft and carried on with her studies, but eventually dropped out, unlike Sarah, who graduated in 2002. By this point, Jen had grown distant from her family, especially her father, and never disclosed her relationship with Sarah to him. According to her father, though, their estrangement had nothing to do with Jen's sexual orientation. After Sarah's graduation, the couple moved to Minnesota, where they bought a 2-story house near the local mall and started new jobs. It was during this time that they began sharing their relationship openly with friends and family. However, not everyone embraced the news. Some friendships began to fade. In 2005, Sarah legally took Jen's last name, becoming Sarah Hart, and the couple soon took a significant step toward expanding their family. They became foster parents, initially welcoming a 15-year-old girl into their home. The girl later revealed that she had hoped to stay with the Harts until she turned 18, but was asked to leave when Jen and Sarah decided to pursue adoption instead. In 2006, they adopted their first 3 children, Marcus 8, Hannah 4, and Abigail 2 from Colorado County, Texas. 2 years later, they expanded their family with 3 more siblings from Houston, Devontae 5, Jeremiah 4, and Sierra 2. All 6 children were of African-American descent. Jen took on the role of stay-at-home mom, documenting her life with the children on social media. She shared everyday moments and culturally enriching activities, including teaching them to play musical instruments and even cutting their hair. She showed how the family celebrated the 30th anniversary of The Goonies, one of her favorite movies, by making matching costumes for everyone. Her online posts also highlighted the children's achievements, such as Marcus' success in a geography competition and Hannah and Jeremiah's recital of the Greek alphabet. In one particularly heartwarming post, she shared how Jeremiah and Abby taught their youngest sister, Sierra, a kindergarten song. The proud mother frequently shared moments with her followers, including the time when Devontae brought home a sheet full of praise and well wishes from his classmates. Jen's social media accounts were filled with images of the children, many of them holding signs that read, "Love is always beautiful." In those pictures, they often appeared as a perfect family, wearing matching shirts and wide smiles. However, behind closed doors, the reality was quite different from the picture painted online. In 2008, while living in Minnesota, a police report surfaced in which one of the couple's daughters told officers that her mother, Sarah, had hit her with a belt. However, when the authorities questioned the mothers, they both claimed that the girl had fallen down the stairs, and the incident was quickly dismissed. The following year, in 2009, Sarah and Jen traveled to Connecticut to get married, as it was one of the few states where same-sex marriage was legal at the time. Every detail of their ceremony was shared on social media. Despite the picture-perfect life they portrayed, things within the family were far from ideal. On November 15, 2010, Abigail, who was 6 years old at the time, confided in her teacher that she had bruises on her stomach and back, saying one of her mothers had hit her. The teacher confirmed the bruises were visible and reported that Abigail had also mentioned other troubling incidents, including being denied food and having her head dunked in cold water as punishment for allegedly stealing a penny. When investigators questioned the mothers, Sarah admitted to hitting Abigail in a fit of rage, while Jen acknowledged that she was aware of Sarah's violent behavior. Following this confession, the authorities inspected the home and interviewed the children, all of whom confirmed they had been physically punished and deprived of food on several occasions. Sarah pleaded guilty to domestic assault and was sentenced to 90 days in jail. However, she didn't serve the sentence as she was granted 1 year of community service. Despite this, the children remained in the couple's custody. After the legal case was resolved, Jen and Sarah withdrew their 6 children from the Minnesota public school system and began homeschooling them. In contrast to Jen's usual openness on social media, this decision was kept completely private. Jen later explained on her profiles that she believed public school was not a safe place for her children, citing discrimination due to their race and their mother's sexual orientation. She also claimed that Devante in particular had suffered physical attacks, threats, and insults at school. Although she voiced her grievances about public education, Jen never mentioned the homeschooling decision on social media. Instead, she posted a photo of the 6 children sitting in a forest clearing captioned "Science Class in the Woods." During this time, the family faced other challenges. According to court documents, Jen and Sarah made over 30 calls to the police, reporting instances of discrimination and aggression due to their sexual orientation. Their neighbor, whom they had accused, later admitted to behaving inappropriately. In 2011, Jen shared moments from her life online, including her attendance at music festivals and her excitement about forming a circle of friends who even organized a party for Devante. She frequently posted photos of him, often emphasizing how special he was in their household. However, their seemingly strong family facade began to crack when Sarah had to relocate to Portland, Oregon for work. Jen stayed behind with the children for 6 months until they sold their house and moved to Portland. Shortly after their arrival in Portland in April 2013, a local photographer captured an image of Devante dancing. Jen shared the photo online, praising her son's infectious joy. Around this time, Jen befriended a woman at a charity concert who later described Jen as a kind, sensitive, and compassionate person. However, the woman also noticed that Jen interacted mostly with Devante and Jeremiah, while the other children seemed distant, often with their heads buried in books. She described Abigail as outgoing, Marcus as shy, and Sierra as full of laughter. Jen confided in her new friend that raising the children was incredibly challenging, and she mentioned that the kids had been removed from school because they were punished more harshly than others. Jen also claimed that her children were born with addiction issues due to their birth mother's drug use, which led to them overeating because they didn't know how to behave. She explained that the children seemed younger than they were, attributing it to genetics and their difficult early lives. According to Jen, the children would never be able to live independently, work, marry, or have children of their own. She believed they would never lead normal lives. Despite these alarming remarks, no legal documents were found to support Jen's claims about the children's conditions. Outwardly, the family seemed to be loving, though concerns about their well-being began to arise. On July 19, 2013, the police filed a report based on concerns about the children's welfare, which was referred to Oregon's Department of Human Services. Details of the report emerged later when a neighbor from the Harts neighborhood came forward. She accused the couple of abusing their children by withholding food, calling their treatment of the kids emotionally abusive, controlling, and cruel. Investigators uncovered additional testimonies from neighbors who reported that the children were subjected to strict and unusual rules. They were required to raise their hands before speaking, were not allowed to celebrate birthdays, and were forbidden from laughing at the dinner table. It was also clear that the children lived in fear of their adoptive mothers. Despite these alarming claims, when authorities interviewed the children, they all insisted that they were treated well. It was apparent that the children had been coached by their mothers on what to say, but without concrete evidence, there was no legal action the authorities could take. When questioned by investigators, Jen argued that any accusations against her were rooted in prejudice. She claimed that people were intolerant of a white lesbian couple raising 6 African-American children. Ultimately, Oregon's Department of Human Services concluded that there wasn't enough evidence to proceed further. Around the same time, an event occurred that brought one of the children into the international spotlight, unrelated to the accusations the family faced. In November 2014, a large protest took place in Oregon following the death of Michael Brown, an African-American teenager killed by police in an incident where Brown was unarmed. A grand jury decided not to indict the white police officer responsible, sparking nationwide protests. During one such protest in Oregon, Devante was photographed with tears streaming down his face as he embraced a white police officer. The image quickly went viral, labeled as the most heartfelt hug in the world, becoming a symbol of social activism. Soon after, Jen and Sarah decided to move their family to Washington. Jen told those around her that they no longer felt safe in Oregon, citing racial threats and strange noises outside their home. They claimed to have contacted the police several times about these incidents, but police records showed no such calls. What was documented, however, were multiple calls to the police from their new neighbors in Washington, expressing concerns about the welfare of the children. In November 2017, the first of many alerts was made when 12-year-old Hannah was seen crawling out of a window in the middle of the night and fleeing to a neighbor's house. When Sarah and Jen arrived to retrieve her, Hannah begged the neighbor not to let her go, claiming she was being mistreated. Unfortunately, the neighbor handed Hannah back to her mother's. The next day, Jen attempted to smooth things over with the neighbors, explaining that Hannah was lying. She attributed her erratic behavior to her biological parents, saying Hannah's birth mother was bipolar and her father had been addicted to drugs. But this incident was not the last to bring attention to the family. In March 2018, Washington's Department of Social and Health Services launched an investigation into the family after receiving reports of potential neglect and abuse. The complaints came from another set of concerned neighbors who had clear evidence that the children were not being adequately fed. This couple later spoke to the media, revealing that Devante frequently came to their house asking for food, sometimes several times a day. He confided in them that his mothers were withholding food as punishment. The couple also expressed their alarm at how thin and small the children appeared. One of their daughters was missing 2 front teeth, and when they asked Jen and Sarah about it, they claimed that the girl simply didn't want her teeth replaced. This explanation did little to convince the neighbors. On top of these disturbing accounts, there was yet another failed escape attempt by one of the girls. Covered in bruises, she showed up at the couple's door late one night, having walked through thorny bushes trying to flee her home. She pleaded for help, saying her mothers were mistreating her and begging not to be sent back. Unfortunately, the gravity of the situation wasn't fully realized by the couple that night. When they saw Jen and Sarah searching for the girl with flashlights, they returned her to her mother's. According to reports, Washington's Child Protective Services (CPS) stated that they had no prior records of concern about the Hart family, neither in Washington nor in other states, despite previous allegations elsewhere in the U.S. It became clear that, time after time, the system had failed these children. By the time CPS sorted through the paperwork and arrived at the Hart's home, it was already too late. Jen and Sarah Hart had vanished with their 6 adopted children. In the days leading up to the tragedy, social workers made 3 unsuccessful attempts to contact the couple. It was later revealed that on March 24, 2018, the Harts left their home in Oregon and began driving south. Their journey took them across several states, eventually reaching North Carolina. On March 25th, Jen was spotted at a grocery store purchasing food. That evening, the family left the area and resumed their travels. Tragedy struck on March 26, 2018. Their SUV was found at the base of a cliff in Mendocino County, California. Investigators concluded that Jen Hart was behind the wheel. She had pulled the vehicle off to the side of the highway, then suddenly accelerated over the edge. Both Jen and her 39-year-old partner Sarah were found dead inside the car. 3 of their children, Abigail, Jeremiah, and Marcus, were discovered lifeless outside the wreckage. In the following weeks, the remains of 2 more children were found. Sierra's body was discovered on a nearby beach 2 weeks later, and in May, a partial foot inside a shoe washed ashore on another beach. DNA tests confirmed it belonged to Hannah. Devante's body was never found, but based on the evidence, authorities declared him legally dead on April 3, 2019. As the investigation continued, horrifying details came to light, sparking public outrage. It was revealed that Sarah Hart had conducted disturbing internet searches during the trip, including how to sedate someone with over-the-counter medications and how long it takes to die from hypothermia in a car. One of her final searches was how to find a shelter for their dogs, a heartbreaking discovery as the couple had left their pets at home. Showing compassion, they tragically denied their children. The family's home, when searched, appeared clean and recently renovated. Jen and Sarah's personal spaces were fully furnished and decorated, but the children's rooms were bare, with no signs of comfort or personalization. Investigators found their luggage still at the house, and not a single toothbrush had been packed, suggesting a carefully planned end. Authorities concluded that Jen and Sarah, feeling trapped by the mounting abuse allegations, had made a conscious decision to end their lives and take their children with them. Psychological evaluation suggested the couple believed that if they could no longer control the children, no one else should have the chance to. Toxicology reports revealed that Jen, the driver, had consumed alcohol equivalent to 5 beers, impairing her abilities. Witnesses claimed that Jen rarely drank, leading to speculation that the alcohol was consumed to give her the courage to follow through with the plan. A sedative was also found in the systems of Sarah and 2 of the children. For years, the Harts had portrayed a perfect family life on social media. Jen often shared cheerful photos of the children with fresh fruits, vegetarian burgers, and homemade desserts. But behind the curated images lay a grim reality. The children were regularly deprived of food and subjected to emotional abuse. The stark contrast between their online image and the horrifying reality was one of the most disturbing aspects of the case. Jen and Sarah's repeated claims that their children were safe with them stood in sharp opposition to the children's lived experiences and ultimate fate. In the end, the investigation closed with their deaths ruled as suicides and the children's deaths classified as homicides. This case ignited a firestorm of public criticism about the failures of child welfare systems across multiple states. Despite reports of abuse and signs of neglect, no agency had successfully intervened. The tragedy exposed significant flaws in the system, sparking debates about the need for stronger oversight and federal reforms to prevent such cases in the future. Thank you for joining us on True Crime Syndicate. If you enjoy unraveling mysteries from around the world, make sure to check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive deep into the most gripping cases from Latin America. Subscribe now for more compelling investigations.